Now you might want to open up your magazine's PowerPoint 3A and read along with me. The first print product to call itself a magazine was published in England in 1731. It's a long time ago. It was called The Gentleman's Magazine. Again, you see, women are not the people that we want to appeal to. Women are not educated. Women can't read. Those sorts of stereotypes about women. It started a run on magazines. The first ones in the U.S. were American Magazine, published by Andrew Bradford. You don't have to remember Andrew Bradford. Just remember it started in 1740 and lasted 3 issues, 3 months. Usually, magazines were put out once a month. General Magazine and Historical Chronicle, published by Benjamin Franklin. You see, Benjamin Franklin, I don't know, the man must never have slept. He was always doing something. 3 days after Bradford's magazine hit the stands, he put those out, and his lasted 6 months. Pretty good. The first focus was on politics and colonial life, and the next focus was we added fashion, entertainment, and agriculture. Sports was not a thing yet. I'm sorry about the tail. Okay. And finances wasn't really huge at that point. So the oldest consumer magazine in the world, still in print, is the Scots Magazine, which was first published in 1739, and it contains articles of Scottish interest. Now, here we have a list of the 10 most popular magazines in terms of circulation still in print in the US, and I'd like you to remember those, okay? So that if I were to ask you on a test, name three, I would never ask you to name more than that. Name three, and be familiar with these, because I may not say name three. I may say here are five. Tell me which ones are still in print in the U.S. today. That sort of thing. And then we get into delivering the news. Prior to radio, carrier pigeons would deliver the news. It was called the Pigeon Express, the fastest and simplest means of long distance communication. You allow a pigeon to acclimate itself and get comfortable in its loft, then you take the pigeon a great distance and release it, and it returns home. They were called homing pigeons. Reuters news service began in 1851 as a vast carrier pigeon network. Messages were sent this way up through the Korean War. Iraq used them in the Gulf War, and the more things change, the more they stay the same. We still do use carrier pigeons when we have to. Daniel Craig, editor of the Boston Daily Mail, collected news from ships coming into Boston Harbor from Europe, and he sent the reports to James Gordon Bennett by carrier pigeon. This is before the newspapers would hire reporters to be located in other cities. They would just send the carrier pigeon out, and somebody there in that city, not somebody that they paid to go to that city, they would purchase the services of a carrier pigeon service, and that was cheaper than having a reporter on staff who you would then have to send to that city. And then these are carrier pigeons photographed this very day, almost, from New York. Bennett then sent reports to Philadelphia and Baltimore through the Pigeon Network. The pigeons got the news to their destinations 3 days sooner than previously, making the news more timely. Unfortunately, sharpshooters did their best to hit the pigeons. If you see the one at the top right, there is a pocket or a very small little wallet that is attached to the pigeon's neck, and there is a disc put in there. So we can put anything. We can take something typed or written on a piece of paper and wrap it around the pigeon's neck, and the pigeon doesn't care. He'll take anything. And then when he lands over here, he gets his food, and somebody takes the message off of his neck. Then we have news delivery by telegraph. This was quite fast. Information, this is by Benkler, 2006. Quote, information, knowledge, and culture are central to human freedom and human development. How they are produced and exchanged in our society critically affects the way we see the state of the world as it is and might be. Who decides the questions and how we as societies and polities come to understand what can and ought to be done. Okay, let's move on. So, oh, here we go. I missed it. This is what the early telegraphs looked like prior to 1881. Just imagine thinking of something like this, that you can tap on this device and that's going to make something come down, and tap on something else and it's connected to wires, and then it travels through the air. I mean, it's just, to me, these are just phenomenal ideas that people had. So the task in the 1800s, communication over wires had been established. Europe, French, British, Germans all had patents on various telegraphy designs by such peoples as Charles Wheatstone. He was one of the earlier ones. They were, however, complicated and unreliable. An American Republic prize existed for an efficient communication system that covered the Atlantic coast. Why the Atlantic coast? Prior communications were done by optical signaling, which had distance and weather conditions issues. Let's stop this right here.